I want to hit one more story before I let you go, and this is connected to the last one. There was a new study put out about the gender pay gap, which you and I have discussed multiple times here on the show, and there were actually 3 fairly depressing findings in this new study. Tell us all about it.
Right. So this is a big study on pay from PayScale. They looked at more than 1 million employees over 2 years and analyzed their pay. And again, they looked at it holding constant a number of different factors to try and sort of compare apples to apples as much as possible. Things like marital status, things like children, seniority, job, industry, geography, all those things, to try and see, when you still strip away all those factors, what men make versus what women make. They found that women in the survey, even with all those factors taken into consideration, made 2.7% less than men. And what I find when I talk about the gender wage gap is that, there's one conversation we should be having, which is, there is a gender wage gap, what do we do about it? But mostly, the conversation doesn't get there because a lot of people say, there is no gender wage gap. The gender wage gap is a myth, and it's because of all these different factors. One factor that people throw out there, for example, is that women just choose lower paying jobs. They just end up going into, say, education, and men go into engineering. That is true. When women do tend to be clustered in jobs that pay less than the ones that men tend to be clustered in. But just moving women into men's jobs won't change anything. The data showed that there is no industry and there's no occupation where women earn equal or more than men. This is also true if you look at data tracked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In the hundreds of jobs they look at, there's, I think, 1 or 2 where women are not making less than men. Another thing that people like to point out is that women are getting more college degrees than men right now, and a college degree comes with a pay premium. You tend to make more than someone with a high school degree. But even among highly educated women, they are still making less than educated men. And I think what's even more depressing is that the wage gap actually grows, so that it's highest for business degree holders and PhD holders than it is for someone who just has a bachelor's. So actually, the more education you take on, the less you're going to make than a man with the same level of education. And lastly, this is also true as you try to move up the corporate ladder. So you would think that, well, all right, so you come in and you're making less than a man, but if you can get ahead and you can get promoted and you can reach the top, you should be making the big bucks. Except that the wage gap actually grows as women climb the ladder. So entry-level women have a much smaller wage gap compared to men and women who are at the executive level.